What's going on, guys? So I am sitting inside of my truck right now because it is 100 degrees outside, actually 99 degrees outside with 112 degree heat index, and it's 90% humidity, which means if you're outside, you're sweating to death and you're burning to death. So I opted to be inside of my air-conditioned truck for the filming of this segment because I think a lot of folks would prefer being in a comfortable environment when they're filming. That said, in front of me, you are looking at my brand new Texas Pride deck over trailer. And there's a lot of folks who are going to ask the question, should I get something like this or should I get something from, say, Diamond C, which is a very, very well-known and super high-end trailer manufacturer. Now, this video is to go over the specs really quickly of my trailer. I have a lot of videos going over those specs, but then to give you kind of the value proposition of something like this or perhaps something like a Diamond C. So this is going to be a very unbiased video. I'm not going to lean heavily into saying one brand is better than the other because there's so many people that have different opinions on this, and I'll explain what I mean by that as well. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so when most people think of the brand Texas Pride, they generally are going to think of a really heavy trailer that is built to be really strong, but it's not necessarily going to have a lot of the cosmetic glam or some of the design cues as a brand like Diamond C. And you're not going to be wrong. What you're buying with Texas Pride oftentimes is purely built around getting the most for the dollar you spend. That's probably the best way to describe Texas Pride. It's not getting a trailer that is going to be the innovation leader. It's not getting a trailer that has very, very unique characteristics set aside that no other brands have. It's getting a trailer that's probably going to save you a tremendous amount of money. It's going to get the job done. It's going to have features that you can opt for that typically would drive the price up in a crazy way on some other brands, and it's going to give you a platform that's just really strong. Now, is it going to have the most advanced this or that? Well, in some ways it might, especially if it's something they can add on. But what I mean by that is when you look at frames and you look at structure and you look at what Texas Pride's doing, they're not trying to compete in the space that Diamond C is, I believe. I believe what they're trying to do is get you a good quality trailer that has a lot of the characteristics and features you're looking for so you can afford it and get to using it, versus a brand like Diamond C, which is an absolutely phenomenal brand that focuses a lot on innovation around how they build their trailers. So what I really like about what Texas Pride does is that they're not afraid to use more steel or thicker steel if it makes the price of the trailer actually come down but give you an incredibly strong platform. Like, for instance, the trailer in front of you is a 30,000 pound built trailer, even though we had it derated to 25,000 pounds. As it sits, it weighs about 9,600 pounds. It's going to go up a little bit since we are going to be adding a few little accessories to it. But the reality of a trailer like this is that it can get you into your first deck over gooseneck trailer at a price that you're just not really going to be able to find with a brand like Diamond C. Now, there could be some other competitive brands out there, but again, the purpose of Texas Pride for small business is to really, really give you a tremendous amount of post-sales support with a trailer that you can afford. And in some cases, you might actually be able to buy multiple Texas Pride trailers for the price that you would buy one or maybe two Diamond C trailers. So again, I'm not knocking Diamond C. It is a stellar product. They have a tremendous amount of innovation and technology baked into their product. A lot of really cool engineering designs that I actually like. From an engineering perspective, I really like what I look at when I look at a Diamond C trailer. But I really like what I look at from the value and the pricing perspective of my Texas Pride trailer as well. So again, I'm not out to say Texas Pride is better than Diamond C, because arguably it's not. You know, Diamond C has a great reputation for, again, evolving and doing really cool things. So for instance, when you look at, say, this front upper deck or neck section of the Texas Pride trailer, you'll notice that it's very conventional in terms of how a lot of gooseneck trailers look. You have a 14-inch, 26-pound per foot I-beam that makes up the main bulk of the structure here, from the neck up top, going down all the way to the pierce beam rails going all the way back. That's a tremendous amount of steel, and it's likely going to be a traditional 36,000 PSI steel, which is a very structural steel. steel, but it's a very like regular steel. This is, again, something you would see in a lot of gooseneck trailers. The key here is that it is heavy, it's incredibly strong, and it's tried and true. We know that there are very few examples that I've ever seen of a gooseneck trailer that's had this section fail. Even on trailers that are really, really old, they tend to hold up pretty dang well with this technology. So again, the folks over at Texas Pride aren't looking to be the evolution leader here. They're looking to give you a platform that's just very time tested and works really well, even though it might have more mass and it might be a bit heavier. So Diamond C goes a different route. They actually have what they call their fleet neck. And the fleet neck is a very non-traditional I-beam design that they actually came up with. They have patents on it. And what's really cool about it is it can get larger or smaller, wider or thinner where they need it to. And it's made out of high-strength steel. So there's a lot of reasons why that's a better design overall, largely because it reduces the amount of weight that you have in an unloaded trailer, which means that you have more room or more capability to put more payload and cargo in the back. So anytime you reduce the materials that it takes to build a trailer, you gain that back generally in terms of cargo capacity and the amount of weight you remove from the truck having to carry. So you don't hit the cargo limit of your truck as quickly. So if they can reduce 200 pounds off the front versus a traditional design like this, then that's a really good benefit. And especially when they can do it in a way that might actually be stronger from an engineered perspective. So again, really, really good technology that they're using. So moving to the next part, when you look at the hydraulic landing gear up front on our Texas Pride trailer, they're Stillwell jacks, so they're not some, crazy knockoff product. They are a very, very high quality, very time-tested hydraulic jack system up front. Super strong. I think each one's rated at like 10 to 12,000 pounds, which is more than you would ever have loaded on them, simply because if you had that much weight loaded on them, your truck really couldn't tow this because it would be too much weight for most of the payload capacities of any truck out there. But this is a very time-tested product. They're relatively heavy because they're steel, and they are, again, time-tested. When you look at what's on a Diamond C, they actually recently have switched to a Lippert-produced aluminum jack system that is also really, really strong, but they weigh significantly less. So they've removed a tremendous amount of weight. I think they're like 80 pounds less than what these might weigh, again, because they're aluminum. And they have a very innovative design that's relatively new, actually very new, and the folks at Diamond C, I think, exclusively use them on their trailers. So again, another really great evolutionary change and difference. When you look at the different types of hydraulics that are available on a Diamond C, you can get a hydraulic dovetail off the back. So from a convenience perspective, you're not lifting ramps anymore. You have the ability to raise or lower your dovetail, and it can handle like 10,000 pounds spread out on it. So it's not like a weak system. It's a very, very well-engineered, very heavy-duty system, and it's another standout reason why somebody might opt for a Diamond C versus a Texas Pride. Now, when you're looking at it purely from like an assembly perspective, who does a better job? They're both going to be relatively on par with each other. They're both going down assembly lines. There's a lot of manual welding that's going on, and as long as you have a lot of people who are physically welding onto trailers, you're going to have varying skill levels. So I don't like to compare this area, mainly because a lot of times the specific trailer you have is going to possibly be slightly different than another trailer somebody else bought, simply because of the people who were welding on it that day. Now, I will admit that the Diamond C tends to be a notch higher in terms of build quality. It tends to have a bit of a higher tolerance level when it goes through the process of being manufactured. But Texas Pride trailers are built really well, though, so it's not as if you're giving up a tremendous amount of quality when you go to a Texas Pride trailer. You're just going to a trailer that's designed for the average Joe contractor and not someone who's looking for like the nicest, fanciest, and most well-equipped and super, super advanced trailer on the market. And again, we'll kind of get into this in a second when it comes to a cost-value perspective. So we have all sorts of cool upgrades on this trailer. We got the pipe spools on the side that are designed for your chain binders to go around versus having to connect them to your rub rail. We have the really cool adjustable slide rail on the side there, which you can probably see with the ratchet strap connections. We have the really nice buyer's toolboxes that were added, 18 by 18 by 36 inch, 2 of them on the other side. We have the really nice spring assisted mammoth ramps that work real well. I have the Warren 8,000 pound winch on it. We got a lot of extra lighting on the side of it. Got the new logo, which is really nice. We got it opted with the Gen Y Spartan hitch up front with the square tube for it, which is really nice. Again, really strong stuff. 15,000 pound capacity axles, 17.5 inch wheels with H or J load range tires. We got the spare on top. We got you know, our headache rack on here. It's just a very, very well equipped trailer. But this trailer as it sits, which again is 8.5 feet wide, 25 foot long flat deck, has a 5 foot dovetail coming off the back, so the overall length of the deck is 30 feet when the ramps are in a closed position. The overall trailer length itself is going to be closer to like 38 feet. But this trailer in front of you, as equipped is about a $27,000 trailer. If you opted to get this thing stripped down and you just needed a hot shot trailer, you needed a trailer to pick up and go at the lowest possible price so you could get your business operating. What do I need to save for so I can kick off my business and get my first deck over trailer without breaking the bank? You can get one of these things for about like 16 grand. Not even kidding you. If you opt for like the standard deck and not the pierce beam, if you don't get the ratcheting, if you get the lighter axles like the 12,000 pound axles, you go with the standard ramps, not the mammoth ramps, you don't get the winch, you don't get the hydraulic front landing gear, you opt for the basic features, you're going to be like at 16 or 17 grand. I'm not kidding you. The minute you start throwing accessories into this is where it can get expensive. Those toolboxes are buyers. That's the brand. They're very high end. The hydraulic jacks up front are Stillwell. Those are very expensive. It requires a really high end pump that's inside of there, and they don't go with the cheap stuff. It's a good quality pump. That's also very expensive. You now have to have a larger battery system in there. The winch is very expensive. The upgraded axles, expensive. The mammoth ramps, the sliding ratchets, all that stuff is very expensive, and that's what drives the price up incrementally. So when you compare something like this to a Diamond C, again, you have to think of who's buying it. Do I need a gooseneck trailer today? Am I starting a business? Do I need to upgrade? Do I need multiple trailers? And if I can get into a Texas Pride trailer at a significantly lower cost, I might be able to buy 3 of these versus just 1 or maybe 2 a competing brand that's going to be far more expensive. So to kind of put that in perspective, if I were to get a fully loaded Diamond C trailer of equivalent size and equivalent capability, it's going to cost probably about $15,000 to $20,000 more than this Texas Pride trailer. You're probably going to be in the $42,000 to $43,000 range. And that in itself is the value play here. Yes, some of the cool features, engineering, and evolution that goes into a Diamond C is really, really nice. I am absolutely going to admit that. I think they are built incredibly well. From a foot-by-foot perspective, they are lighter because they used a very different engineered design to try to reduce as much unnecessary mass as possible. But all of that engineering, all of that design costs money, and you're going to pay for that. And that's where you have to determine at what point in your business are you at, or what point in your needs are you at to justify that extra cost. Again, there are folks who make a lot of videos on Texas Pride trailers and Diamond C trailers and every other brand out there. And what you will typically find as the recurring theme is, I needed a trailer that was cost effective to get into, and if I got a Texas Pride, it's because I could afford it first. I could hit that level to where I have the money to buy one of these trailers and put it to work. And now I have multiple of them that cost me a lot less than if I had just purchased a few of another brand. And I have these things out working. Are they perfect? No. Do they have the best cosmetics to them? Were there possibly some minor issues I have to deal with? I think with any equipment, you're going to eventually deal with issues. I've heard really good things about their support. I've heard really good things about after the sale and how they're taking care of their customers. But at the end of the day, you do want a high quality trailer, and I think you get that from Texas Pride. I just think you're not going to get the sheer amount of engineering and innovation in a Texas Pride as you might get in a Diamond C, or maybe a few other brands. But I'm okay with that, because as little as I use these trailers compared to a lot of operators out there, I get everything I need out of a trailer like this and more. I would never be able to justify personally getting a Diamond C. It's the same story I tell with both the RVs you see behind this trailer. We didn't get a DRV, we didn't get a Riverstone, we didn't get a Lux. We got a trailer, an RV, a fifth wheel, that the average family could afford if they were looking for a large fifth wheel. Same with the travel trailer. We could have easily gotten, you know, a Brinkley or something that costs $80,000 in the same size. We opted for a very practical trailer that a lot of families can afford. It's not going to be the fanciest. It's not going to come with the fanciest suspension. It's not going to have the newest, latest, greatest technology, but it's going to be a very achievable product for a lot of folks who are looking to get into an RV. Same with this trailer. It's a very achievable goal. It's not one that you have to go, man, that is beautiful, but I can't afford it. I need to get one now. It's nice that the super high-end ones exist, but that's unfortunately out of my budget and value range at this point. And I think that's where Texas Pride fits in really well. They're going to give you a lot of bang for your buck, and even if you get one fully equipped like the one you're looking at in front of you, you're still going to pay probably $10,000, $15,000 or more less than if you opt for a brand like Diamond C. So Diamond C, I will admit, you have a lot more innovation in terms of how you shaved weight and what you're doing there, which is all really, really good stuff. And if I had to compare, I would say that this trailer in front of you right here would be like the Coachman, the Alliance, the Jayco North Point, the Montanas of Gooseneck trailers. If you get a Diamond C, you're getting the Riverstone, the DRV, the Lux of Gooseneck trailers. So that's probably the best analogy I can use for folks who watch my channel. Anyways, guys, I sure hope that this has helped you all. I sure hope that it puts a little bit more clarity for those folks who are going to jump on and say, you should have gotten a Diamond C, you should have gotten, you know, Max D, you should have gotten this other brand. Well, it all comes down to value. It all comes down to with what you're looking for, the budget you have, and if the trailer that you're looking at will accomplish those goals, and if you have the dealer support to ensure that you have a good experience while you own that trailer. Anyways, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. Again, big shout out to Texas Pride for collaborating with me for making this happen. Huge supporter of the channel, and they've really been able to hit the spot for the types of trailers that I would need and going above and beyond in terms of what they're capable of for my application. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.